All right, let's head to the Quaker State Garage and join Bill Gardner.
Well, it's more like the hangar today, Brad. I just couldn't miss coming out on your Better Way Forward shoot. I mean, I only live a few miles from Pearson Airport. As a matter of fact, I'm right underneath the approach to one of the runways. My neighbors hate the planes. I love them. I'm fascinated by them, so I just had to come out today. I mean, I run out and I look at every plane that comes over and see what airline it is and what model plane it is and just love them. Anyhow, think about some of the incredible numbers when you're talking about an aircraft. I mean, this Boeing 777 that we're looking at inside the hangar, when it takes off, it can weigh as much as 750,000 pounds. And when it lands, after it's exhausted some of its fuel load, it can still weigh as much as 554,000 pounds, hitting the tarmac, hitting that runway at 150 knots. How do you bring that to a safe stop under any weather conditions? Well, you need some great tires, some great landing gear, incredible brakes, and all this componentry's got to work in harmony to bring that plane safely to a stop. Now, inside this tire, we've got 3 axles on the main landing gear in this 777. Inside of each one of these tires, 220 psi of nitrogen pressure inflating that tire. Each tire is thermally protected by a fuse, literally a fuse, that prevents this tire from getting too hot. So if the brakes were to overheat and put too much heat into this wheel tire assembly, they prevent it from going off in the landing gear like a bomb. They would deflate the tire with that thermal fuse. Now, when we move over to the brakes on this Boeing 777, I mean, it's just awesome to look at this. I mean, anything that I normally work on a car, light truck is puny and chintzy looking in comparison to this. Now, what we're looking at right here is this multi-disc brake system that stops the plane. Each one of these components that you see me moving is essentially like the rotor in your car. Rotates with the wheel, and in between all of these ones here, and here are the friction material, or similar to the brake pad in your car. On the inboard side, we've got hydraulic actuators that squeeze this whole works together to stop the plane. Now, when the mechanics are putting this wheel assembly back on, they've got to line up all these components here, the one that I referred to as the rotor. They've got to line them all up so that the drive lug passes through all of them together, and each one of them floats, so they've got to line them up diametrically as they bring that wheel tire assembly in to reassemble it. Out here on the nose of the spindle, you can see a great big fine thread. There's one single nut that holds that whole wheel on there and preloads and positions the wheel bearing. Now, after they bring that wheel and tire assembly in, they use this huge socket on this huge torque wrench to put 500 foot-pounds of tension on that nut to seat it and locate it. Then they back it off to 0. Then they put 200 foot-pounds on it to give it its basic pre-torque or preload on that bearing. So you can see some similarities to a car or truck, but the scope of everything is so huge. One interesting thing I noticed on the inboard side of this brake assembly, there's a simple little rod there that shows them when the brakes are worn out. So when the tip of this rod gets back to here, they know that the rotors and pads have worn enough that they've got to replace that assembly. I want to thank the guys at Air Canada for letting us come out to the hangar today, Bob Reed in Cargo for showing us around the airport, and Steve Spear in Maintenance and his guys, his crew, for letting us see the hardware that goes into one of these planes. This Boeing 777 goes over my house a number of times every day, and I'll look at it just a little bit different after being out here today, and I'll tell you, I'll fly with confidence when you see the quality of everything involved and how seriously these guys take maintaining these planes. Gives you a lot of confidence in the airline industry, that's for sure. Till next week, I'm Bill Gardner for Motoring 2008.